So the question of what is incapacity and how does it bear upon guardianships? Well, we can think of two common forms of guardianship. One would be over a person who just isn't capable. And in that situation, we're typically talking about someone who is now an adult but isn't capable, whether it's having to do with their finances or their medical decisions or their day-to-day decisions. And capacity in that situation would typically involve a determination with the benefit of the input of a medical professional. In the much more common situation, it might be a guardianship over a minor, and a minor is deemed incapacitated in terms of the law. A minor doesn't have legal capacity. But there's another sort of incapacity that would typically be involved in that situation, and that would be a form of incapacity of the parent, which is why a third party, maybe a grandparent, an aunt, or it could just be a friend, is in the situation being talked about as a guardian. That is something that's occurring increasingly today with the rampant problems with drug abuse and the impact that that's having on families. Increasingly, we are having grandparents who thought they were done raising children who are just signing up. They know what they're in for, and they're signing up. They're looking to raise their grandchild as their own child, acting as a guardian. And that occurs because the parent either can't or won't, quite typically. Or in a rare situation, the parent might be incarcerated or might be actually be deceased. A very important thing for anyone to understand in a guardianship matter, and this one I think is critical. Guardians are asked to do, I think, probably one of the very toughest of jobs. They are asked to raise a child as their own in every single way, and naturally will become increasingly attached. I don't just mean attached like you're my grandchild, I love you, but I've been your day-to-day parent for a while, and you look at me as your parent form of I love you. And the guardian, I feel, should be advised by judges right from the outset of the risk that the guardianship one day would come to an end. And it's fundamental for folks to realize that unless a parent's rights have actually been terminated, we have people acting as guardians in what needs to be considered a temporary role. Temporary might drag on for years, but it's still temporary. It's something that can come to end. And if a parent one day can show, I really should be the one raising my child, and if the court becomes convinced of this, and after all, the law is sort of predicated on the notion that parents should be raising their own children, the deck can sort of be stacked against the guardian, who then feels abused by the whole situation. And it's hard to avoid achieving this attachment through selfless hard work, taking on that parenting role now for a second generation, only to find out it'll be taken away. And what happens is a whole lot of acrimony on top of all the prior acrimony, when maybe a now fit again parent is fighting against his or her parent. And part of the problem is the grandparent guardian was never given to understand that that role really might be temporary and necessarily in many cases should be temporary. And I just think that's something that folks really need to understand, just so they know what the role is.